So a few weeks ago I was looking for a random game to play and came across Illusion of Gaia, in which I recently picked up. The box for this game looked pretty interesting, and I've seen some of the gameplay in the past and it looked pretty good. Illusion of Gaia is loosely based on a trilogy with two other games, Soul Blazer and Terra Enigma, and it falls right in the middle of them. I played some Soul Blazer in the past and I was pretty into it, so what about Illusion of Gaia? So what is Illusion of Gaia all about? You start the story as Will, a boy who lost his father during an expedition in the Tower of Babel. From there, I have to be quite honest, I have little clue as to what's happening. The local king of your village is looking for a gem you have and captures your grandparents to use as hostages to get it back. Will befriends the Princess Kara and her pet pig Hamlet and goes off on an adventure to find his father. Right off the bat, I thought Illusion of Gaia was going to be more of a traditional style action RPG. But really, it's way more action than it is RPG. There aren't that many things to do in towns other than progress the story and find red gems. Let me tell you about these damn red gems. Actually, hold that thought for a second. I have to tell you about maybe my biggest pet peeve about this game. It drove me absolutely nuts while playing it. So when a dialogue box happens and you accidentally press any single button on the controller, whether it be the D-pad, A, B, Y, or whatever, the text box will disappear immediately. There are 15 total, and they're hidden in all sorts of random ass locations. You can trade them into the gem guy to obtain various stat increases or new skills. Unfortunately, there's hardly any backtracking in this game, so if you miss one of these gems, you're basically fucked. If you get all 50 gems, you can unlock a special skill as well as a new dungeon and boss at the end of the game. I missed quite a few of these while playing casually, so you won't be seeing any of that shit in this review. If you do your homework though, you'll find that the locations of these gems are readily available in the instruction manual for this game. My bad for screwing that up. Now this game is a good 6 to 8 hours long, so I'm not going to cover every little thing in excruciating detail, so let's look at some of the more important things here. The gameplay is where this game really shines. It plays a lot like Zelda, and that's great. The enemy designs are pretty good, and there are a lot of decent puzzles to solve, but some are overly cryptic. This game rewards you for taking the time to kill every enemy in each area. As soon as you do, Will gains a bonus of 1 of 3 stats: attack, defense, or health. At several save points throughout each area, Will can transform or evolve into Freedan the Knight. He does more damage and has different skills to use. The only thing that sucks is that Freedan lacks some of Will's abilities that can get you through a bunch of the puzzles. Thankfully that doesn't come into play all that often until much later in the game. These battle areas are generally pretty easy to get through and you won't find yourself in trouble of dying all too often. But the real challenge comes in the boss fights. The first boss of this game is one of the hardest, and the difficulty goes from 0 to 100 real fast. This giant monster shoots all sorts of stuff at you from every angle and it deals a ton of damage. This is the theme with most of these fights, and there are very few items in the game that can restore your health. The third boss fight had me seriously pissed off. You have to fend off 2 vampires while a timer ticks down. Both of them have a stacked health bar, take very little damage, and deal a ton themselves. I died to these 2 so many damn times. And the story of this game is something. I'm not exactly sure I understand what it is, and not sure I should try to attempt to explain it. But I'll do my best. So you need to collect 6 mystic statues in order to access the Tower of Babel. At the same time, a comet is heading past Earth, and it's causing the planet to evolve at a rapid pace. Illusion of Gaia is surprisingly dark and tackles all sorts of crazy shit, such as slavery and the lengths that people will go to in order to survive. At one point, Will and the princess are stranded on a raft for a month. During this time, they nearly die until Will starts stabbing fish that they have to eat raw. Sharks surround your raft, and both your heroes believe they will soon be dead. Several times you explore villages that have perished due to famine or other disastrous events. There are a couple moments that are among the greatest in video game history, and I'm not lying. I think both were meant to be deep and meaningful, but they come off as over-the-top hilarious. In a fishing village, you play poison roulette with the town brute. It gets down to the last glass, and both of you know it's the poison. Instead of simply conceding the game, this dude drinks the glass and commits suicide. What the fuck, man? To top it off, you run into his family soon afterwards, and his wife is pregnant with his baby. Either something was seriously off in translation, or the developers lost their goddamn minds. Another legendary moment comes very late into the game. You find a village destroyed by hunger. The villagers have resorted to cannibalism just to survive, and it looks real bad for our heroes. Words cannot do what happens next justice. Just watch. I hope the staff at Enix got the therapy they desperately needed after this game launched. Finally, we make it to the Tower of Babel, and we have a new shadow form to help out with the classic boss rush. There's nothing too hard here, but you'll have to defeat several bosses in a row before each save point, and by this time you'll likely be out of healing items. But now you should know the patterns a little better, so at least it's doable. Afterwards, we meet up with Will's father, who has been in a crazy room on top of the tower. This room harnesses rays from the comet passing Earth, and everything in it evolves at an insane rate. Will's father has evolved to death and turned himself into a spirit or something. From here, I have no idea what the developers were smoking. Will somehow gains the ability of a spacecraft and flies onto the comet itself, where he battles with the final boss, who is Dark Gaia. And this fight plays like a 2D shooter randomly, and you're safe as long as you dodge the falling projectiles. It's after this fight that really confuses me. The Earth has evolved hundreds of years during Will's time on the comet, and for some reason his dad tells him that he'll have no recollection of his life at all up to this point, including the relationships he's built throughout this journey. So the game ends on a cutscene of the current year, where Will, minus his entire family, or friends, or anything, meets up with Kara again after class, and presumably lives a brand new life with her. But that's just a guess. Honestly, I have no idea. It's weird as hell. So here are my final thoughts about Illusion of Gaia, and honestly it's just kind of hard to say. I really enjoyed the gameplay and the action, but the story is just so fucking weird and flew way over my head. It's definitely not a piece of shit, but I don't know if I would call it a gem either. I do know that there are some diehard fans out there, but I guess I just don't understand where the mad love for this game comes from. And you gotta remember too, I never grew up with this game, so I have absolutely no nostalgia for it. So I just played this game brand new, never played it before, barely ever heard of it for the first time just a couple weeks ago, and this is really where my view is coming from here. So I understand how nostalgia works. I mean, if you had this game as a kid and you grew up with it, you'll probably really like it. And honestly, it's not a bad game, but for me, it's just a really middle of the road action RPG. I just thought it was okay. As for a final rating, let's just end on a slightly better than average 3 out of 5 stars. Lastly, I just have to mention that the ending of Illusion of Gaia is perhaps among the longest endings of any video game ever. Honestly, it clocks in at over 20 minutes long. For a Super Nintendo game, that's insane. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.